All right, we are going to wait a few more minutes to get some more people on here, and we'll start pretty soon. Hi, John.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep. I'm
Awesome.
gonna mute myself so I can just listen.
Sure. Well, thanks for joining in. All right, so we're going to wait for a few more people, and we'll get started here very shortly. Okay, we'll start in 1 minute. All right, so I guess we're going to go ahead and get started just so we can still get done pretty quickly. And that way, y'all can still have time with your families and your friends and keep your weekend going. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Pam Barragan. I am actually a recent recording arts graduate with MediaTech Institute. And hang on 1 second. This thing is asking people to join. What? Sorry, we got people trying to get in, guys. My apologies. Technology's goofy. Hmm. I may have to reintroduce myself. Hang on one second. I've got people jumping on right now. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. So it looks like some people are having trouble getting in, guys. So bear with me while I get them squared away. Okay, hopefully that fixed it. That's kind of goofy. Okay, so hopefully they can get in. If not, I'm just going to roll with this and I'm going to have to give them the recording later. All right, so again, my name is Pam Barragan. I'm a recent graduate of MediaTech Institute with Recording Arts. I actually have a background in, I'm a musician, a guitarist, and all that. And I actually found a niche with podcasting about a year ago, a little over a year ago. And the podcast has absolutely blown up into something I didn't even know was gonna happen off of a brand that I found here at MediaTech. So I want to formally just introduce myself and thank everybody here at MediaTech for allowing myself and my co-host Israel Castillo for hosting this. Unfortunately, he won't be with us today, but he will be with us for part two next weekend. So I'm going to hold down the fort for him and everybody today. And like I said, we're going to push through it pretty good. If y'all have questions, feel free to jump in. I will have moments throughout the presentation for questions. But in the meantime, if there's something really just weighing on you and you wanted to just jump in, go ahead and feel free to do that. So without further ado, that's a little bit of who I am. And we're just going to get started, okay? So I think people are still having trouble getting in. This is so goofy. Okay. So let me go ahead and share this screen real fast with y'all. All right. So first and foremost, we're just gonna go over the goal for today is just to go over your basics, what you're gonna need for podcasting, and all that fun stuff. Hang on one second. All right. So how do we start up a podcast? Right. First thing we're gonna do is watch a quick 10-minute video. And guys, while you guys are watching this, I'm gonna try to get other people in. I'm not sure why we're having such a hard time with that, but that's okay. It's a quick 10-minute video. If you're listening in, just turn up your volume, and here we go.
Hey, my name is Alvin Brook, and I'm the head of marketing at Buzzsprout, and you're watching video 1 of our How to Start a Podcast YouTube series. So over the next several videos, we're going to take you step by step through the entire process to launch your first podcast. And we're going to go pretty in depth here. We want to make sure that you have all of the best practices so that you can start your podcast on the right foot. So more people are listening to podcasts than ever before. According to Edison Research, the number of Americans who are listening to a podcast every week has grown over 100% in just the last 4 years. And 67 million Americans listen to a podcast every month. And as the audience for podcasts continue to grow, there's never been a better time to start a podcast, whether it be for a hobby, a business, nonprofit, or even a church. So if you follow the advice in this video series, you'll be primed to launch your own podcast and take advantage of what we think is a really exciting new medium. Podcasts are a great way to build a genuine connection with your audience. Instead of a fractured connection you might get through social media and sending out a tweet storm, podcasts allow you to engage with your audience in a unique, long-form content. There's podcasts I've listened to for years now, and though I've never met the people who actually put those podcasts out, you start to feel like you know the person who does the podcast. So that's a special connection that you may not get through text or even YouTube. Sometimes it feels like you're there in the room with the person who's doing the podcast. Every time you publish an episode, every one of your subscribers will get that episode in their podcast app automatically. There's not a special bell to ding or a secret algorithm to figure out. So as long as you're putting out great content, you'll slowly over time be building an audience of passionate fans. So why should you even listen to Buzzsprout at all? Well, Buzzsprout's been around for 10 years, and we've helped launch over 100,000 podcasts. We have a guide that we wrote on how to make a podcast, and that's been read over 500,000 times. We've also gone to dozens of podcasting conferences and spoken to thousands of podcasters. So we're trying to bring all of that we've learned over those years together into this course. We hear all the time people are saying, am I a little late? We know that you're not too late because every few years another breakout show comes out. 2014 we had Serial, then The Daily launched in 2017. 2019 we've already had a bunch of new shows like The Dropout, 1619, Ron Burgundy podcast. All of those launched just this year. I think back to all the times we've gone to a conference, it's pretty common that someone's saying, I'm just about to launch a podcast. We're like, great, that's awesome. And then the next year they say, I didn't launch yet, but I'm about to launch. I'm just polishing the last few episodes. And there's people that I've met multiple times over a couple years and they haven't launched. So I don't want you to be intimidated by the number of podcasts. I want you to think, I'm getting in now and I'm getting in early. Our research shows for every podcast there's 570 blogs and 65 YouTube channels. So just think about the opportunity there was to start a blog in like 2004. Yeah, there was a ton of written content all over like AOL.com or whatever it was back then. But there were also a lot of people coming online. And so as there were more people writing, there were more people reading. And that's what we're getting in podcasting. If you think only a quarter of Americans regularly listen to a podcast, imagine what 3/4 of Americans are doing right now. The head of Google Podcasts has said Google's goal is to double the amount of people that are listening to podcasts worldwide. So think about the opportunity that's there for you if a company like Google is putting their name behind this kind of audacious goal. So I hope I've convinced you of the incredible opportunity there is in podcasting. So now let's dive into how to start a podcast. Think about why you want to start a podcast. And The reason this is an important question is because it's going to inform a lot of what you do later. Another way to phrase this maybe is, what I want you to think about at least is, what's your goal? What's the purpose for your podcast? Here are the 4 most common goals that we hear from people. To generate leads for a business, for maybe your business, to become a recognized leader in an industry, to share an important message, or frankly, just to have fun. Now, as you think about those 4, I want you to also think about 2 reasons that are red flags. These are not good. If you want to become famous or you want to get rich, the chances that happen are so low. I would say those are not good reasons to start a podcast. While most shows can build a strong, passionate audience, it's only the lucky few that ever have a chance to turn their hosts into a star. So you're probably not going to become Joe Rogan. So it's good right now to go ahead and write down your answer. Why are you starting this podcast? And we'll refer back to it as we further develop your podcast concept. So now that we've got your purpose, what's your podcast about? And it can be as broad as pop culture or as focused as discussions about a recent Supreme Court ruling. The only requirement is that the topic has to be something you're passionate about, something you're excited to research and discuss on a regular basis. Once you have an idea of what the podcast is about, it's a good idea to do some market research. So search through Apple Podcasts and see if someone else is already doing it. If there is something, don't freak out. Just listen to a couple of their episodes to see what they're doing well and think of ways you can improve on it or maybe give that topic a different spin. When you're picking a podcast name, you'll want to pick something that's catchy, it's memorable. It will rank for keywords that are relevant to your podcast. Think about what people are searching that you would want your podcast to show up in front of them. So they're going to search something in Apple Podcasts, and then you want yours to show up. So I think of a show called Bigger Pockets. It's a real estate podcast. Well, they've got real estate in the name because they know we want people to search real estate and find us. Or there's a show called Syntax Web Development Treats or Tasty Web Development Treats. Well, they know people are searching web development, so they want that in there. I want to give you Apple's advice. Apple says pay close attention to the title, the author, and the description because Apple Podcasts uses these fields for search. This is a direct quote. Make your title specific. A podcast called Our Community Bulletin is too vague to attract subscribers, no matter how compelling the content. Now, one thing that people often get sucked into doing, and this is not a good idea, is stuffing. It's like the Albin podcast, best tips, how to start a podcast, entrepreneur, online marketing, and they stick all this stuff together and they submit it to Apple and it gets kicked right out. Because Apple doesn't want you stuffing all these keywords in there. They want you to put in exactly what your podcast is about. So Apple specifically says, focus on your title, focus on the description, focus on the author tag. All those are used for search. So make sure those are all completely filled out and have a lot of good info there. Sometimes people here start thinking, oh, let's jump in and start doing some artwork. Well, we're not going to do artwork now. The reason we're not going to get into the artwork piece is because artwork is so much harder to change than text. And as we're recording episodes, it's going to be pretty easy for you to update your concept over time as you start to think, oh, maybe the title's changing or what we're focusing on is maybe shifted. So it's easy to update that text. It's hard if you've just asked someone to put together some custom artwork for you. So we'll hold off till later and then we'll come back to this. All right, so that's everything we have for developing your podcast concept. We talked about the incredible opportunities in podcasting, and I really hope I convinced you of how podcasting is a little different and there's a lot of opportunities still there. Then the main things, we had 3 main things. We talked about why you are starting a podcast, what that podcast is about, and we picked a name. And I want you to write the answers to those questions down because those are going to feed into everything else we do in all the videos coming up. Because next video, we're going to talk about format. So format, we're going to talk about what type of podcast. We'll go through different types of shows there are. What type should you make? And then we'll talk about the optimal length for a podcast episode. If there And then we're going to talk at the end about how often you should publish, like every day, once a week. So we'll get into all the formatting stuff in the next video. We're really excited you're on this journey with us. One thing that really is exciting for us is knowing as we're filming this, thousands of the people who watch it are going to launch successful shows. So we're really excited to be a part of that, and we'll see you in the next video.
All right, cool. So we won't be seeing him in the next video because we are going to be doing something a little different. However, I will touch base back on that video that most of us were able to watch. Unfortunately, guys, there's some people having a hard time coming in, but it's okay. This podcast, let me show my pretty face here. This podcast is, or this recording is being recorded and will be pushed out depending on how MediaTek wants to do that. So you guys can always come back to this training seminar, this workshop that we're putting on today to see what we talk about and all that good stuff. So we're going to get started with the fun stuff. And I'm kind of keeping an eye in the chat as well. If any of y'all have podcasts, let me know. If y'all are beginners, let me know. Feel free to jump on so I can hear your voices. Again, my name is Pam, and I'm excited about what's about to happen. And we are blocked off for 3 hours, but it doesn't mean we're going to go for 3 hours. So if we get it done in an hour, we're going to get this training done in an hour, but I'm going to make sure I stay on as long as possible to answer any and all questions. And I'm just excited for part 1. And again, part 2 is next weekend from 12 to 3. So let's rock and roll, shall we? All right. So I am keeping an eye on the chat if anybody has any questions or any of that good stuff. All right, so the purpose of the slides that we're going to go over today, the entire overview of what we're going to talk about is planning and execution. Okay, so planning and execution. We're going to go over branding, genre, booking your guests. That's a big one. List of equipment, establishing a setting, your location setting, because the environment is just as important, guys. How to format your podcasts. There's different variations. There's freestyle or segment oriented, and we'll get more into that once we hit on that slide. Excuse me. Recording and mixing. We're going to do an overview, part 1. Again, where to record and mix, right? Because for the average person who maybe it hasn't gone to school for recording arts or doesn't know what DAW stands for, we're going to go over all that, and we're going to keep it super simple. Our goal is to not overcomplicate this because we want maybe even a teenager to come up with this video or come across this video and be able to launch a successful podcast. So we're going to keep it super simple, guys. And then again, and lastly, how to upload your sessions, where to upload your sessions. So there's a lot here, but the reason I actually wanted to start with that quick 10-minute video, that gentleman is with Buzzsprout. And I'm going to actually get a little deeper about who Buzzsprout is and the resources that they provide us as podcasters or, future podcasters to make it super simple because there's so much out there and we can lose ourselves really, really fast, right? So we're going to, like I said, we're going to keep it super simple for you guys. And feel free to stop me at any point. And yeah, so here we go. So planning and execution for your podcast. Rule number 1, and I'm a firm believer in this, you guys have fun. You can have so much fun on these things. It's insane. Podcasting can actually become such a part of you to the point where it's like another body part, if you will. It's just your thing. It's your baby. It's your passion. And nobody can take that away from you, right? So have fun with it. This is your wheelhouse and your element and what you want to make out of it. And it really is a lot of fun. All right. So planning and execution. We use fancy words for these slides, but basically we're just going to be planning and how to do it, right? So what's your budget? That's the biggest thing is podcasting. I'm not going to lie. You're going to be investing in some equipment that can be expensive. It could be top notch, it could be pawn shop, it could be all sorts of stuff, right? And just because you have a microphone from a pawn shop doesn't mean it's going to be a horrible mic. It's all on how you set it up, use it, and all that fun stuff, right? So, first and foremost, what's your budget? Because anything to do with podcasting to start, you got to put money in yourself, right? It's your business or your hobby, and it's all in what you make it. You want good quality stuff, or are you just kind of in it for, hey, just get it out there, right? So find out what your budget is. And again, and probably the most important thing, what do you want your podcast to be about? There's so much stuff going on in the world, guys. There's so much stuff going on at home with us. Uh, Maybe there's something really weighing heavy on your heart. You're just so passionate about, and you're like, screw it, I'm gonna do this. This is what I want to talk about, or bring light to, or really make a movement about. Right? And that's the beauty about podcasting. So, what do you want the podcast to be about? Um, what do you want it to cover? How deep do I want my podcast to be? So, for instance, we have podcasts ranging from comedy to Dr. Phil. We've got laughing, we've got crying, we've got anger, we've got all sorts of emotions, right? But it's up to you on how deep you want to go. And honestly, how deep, if you go really deep, just be ready for some raw emotions and just ask yourself if you're ready for that, and you'd be surprised how some of these episodes and podcasts can really affect you emotionally. So be ready for it, right? So, what I want it to be about, how deep do I want to go? Am I prepared to face backlash from certain discussions? And we put underneath politics, religion, controversial topics, right? Those are some big ones that we all know can get us in some hot water sometimes. But if we're passionate about it, is it worth it, right? So if you're prepared to, somebody to come at you, or you're always going to have these naysayers or these dream busters tell you you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, well, you know what? I'm passionate about it. So if you are ready for it, by all means, go for it, right? So that's kind of what we're going with right there. All right. Where can I record my first episode? When I started my podcast, it was the same thing. I'm like, how do I do this? What am I going to do? Didn't know anything. So where can I record it? How do I edit my episodes? Is there anybody out there who can mix or edit my episodes or my sessions? So if you're not comfortable mixing or editing, and there's a lot of people that would just much rather be behind the mic and talk, which is totally fine. If you have a connection to somebody who knows anything about audio or can mix or something, and even softwares, there's some free apps now. I think Anchor's one of them, where you can actually just plug your phone in and it'll do everything for you. It takes the guessing work out of mixing and editing, and it's just super raw. Just go, right. Some of us are very anal about how we want it. Some of us want to sound like professional. Some of us just whatever, and that's okay, right? It's on you on how you want to do this. But lean on people. Call people up here at MediaTech. There's always students up here that are willing to help out and put a little plug in for MediaTech, because that's what we do, and it's a lot of fun to be able to do this for people. Very rewarding. It's good practice. Should I format my series of episodes by seasons? So this is a really good one, right? And how many episodes should I have per season? That's all on you. Uh, some people like seasons. I personally started with seasons, and now I'm probably going to stop because of how it's all evolved, and it's just taken me personally. But it's entirely up to you. Um, a rule of thumb, and it's not a hard rule of thumb, is anywhere from 7 to 11 episodes a season. Hell, there's people that do 20 episodes a season. I mean, it's completely up to you and how you want to block it off, if you want to block it off. So it's completely on you on how you want to do this, right? And I keep repeating myself because it's always going to come back to you, how you want to do it. So this is really cool, and there's a lot of questions here, and I haven't seen any questions in the chat, which is okay. But guys, again, please feel free to stop me if there's something that you want to discuss. Um, if not, I'm just going to keep going forward. All right. So with podcasting, you want to find your branding. You want to find your brand. You want people to know who you are, what you're about. Um, there's so much that goes into branding, and they have classes for that. But the biggest thing about branding is you want it to be noticeable. It's going to reflect who you are. Your brand is you, right? So on the left with 2200 Taps, that's actually my personal podcast and my brand for what I do as a business. And on the right is Izzy's, Israel, my co-host. Like I said, he couldn't be here, but that's his brand for his business and his podcasts. So once we've created our brands or in these images, we can then use it to push it out even further with marketing and all that fun stuff. But when you find your brand, stick with your brand. You could always revamp it later. For podcasting, it's really important that it just you capture who you are with your brand. There's so much more to that, guys. I'm not the brand expert, but we've got some people here at the school. Miss Crystal Givens, she's amazing. Talk to her, or talk to your friends who do this stuff. There's a lot of homework that goes behind this. You just really can't do it on a dime, right? There's a lot of passion and purpose behind that. So just keep that in mind. And if you already have your brand, even better. You're definitely one step ahead. Where are we at here? All right, so here's a simple breakdown that we wanted to give you. With your branding for the podcast, what's the title of your podcast? Joe Rogan, he's a popular guy. His is Joe Rogan. Dr. Phil, it's Dr. Phil, because these are very noticeable names. You want something that's going to capture the reader, something that's a part of that, it's you. So you want to focus on the title of your podcast, episode number or name, then what season you're on. And that's mostly when you're filling out everything to push your podcast episode out. Okay. Again, if you don't have a season, you don't have a season, and that's okay. But be mindful of it. Title of the episodes, that's completely on you on how you want to do it. You could put your guest name, you could put your topic. I personally, I'll take a quote from my guest that they said within our interview, and if it's a pretty capturing quote, I will use that as the title, and just quote my guest, just so it kind of captures somebody's eye. But that's my method. Izzy's got his own method. It's all on how you want to do that. And you can always improve and always change it. Name of the host. So if you're the host, I mean, you are the best representation of your brand's identity, right? Because that's you. That's all you. Intro phrases. All right, now we're getting into like introducing yourself within the episode. So, mine, I've kind of just come up with it. Like, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl Pam with 2200 Taps. I started that in the beginning, and that's really become my intro phrase. Some people, Izzy, and we're gonna sample an intro to his podcast. He does it completely different, and those are gonna fall in the spectrum of freestyle format podcasting, or having formatted podcasts. We're gonna get into that here in a minute. And here's the big one too, right? If you have your guests or you yourself, right, is your podcast going to be filtered or unfiltered? Like, are we going to have censored? Is it going to be censored or uncensored? Is it going to be raw? You really want to look at that dynamic. Do you want to just let loose and be you? Or are you okay with being censored and all that fun stuff? Now, I go unfiltered. I don't filter my guests because that lines up very much with my mission. Izzy, I believe he filters. And then that kind of goes into the monetization and all that stuff with YouTube, which is a completely different ball of wax that I won't get into. But, again, it's your podcast. And guests, and believe it or not, guys, if you are a show that's very unfiltered, like mine, it can be very explicit in a good way, actually. Um, I will have guests that I've had guests come on and say, "Hey, I'm representing um, this nonprofit, and because I'm representing them, I don't want any cursing," which I'm totally cool with. So be ready to work around your guests, what their wishes are and wants and needs as well, within within reason. If they're trying to just take over your entire podcast, might have to have a different conversation with them, right? Uh, but it works itself out. It will always work itself out in the end, and it turns out to be a really cool episode every time. Any brand product affiliations? Podcast is a form of marketing. So if you're sponsored, if you get sponsors for your podcasts, that's part of it. You want to name who your sponsors are, right? You always hear people like, this episode is sponsored by X, Y, and Z. It's all part of marketing. If you discuss, let's say, nonprofits or schools or any organizations for that matter, that's a form of marketing. So you do want to capture that, and then when you go to push out your episodes, you could always, you put a plug in them in the episode, but when you fill out all your information for the episode, you might want to throw in their websites and stuff where people can find them, right? And your stuff. If you have a business and you're using your podcast to help promote your business, put your stuff out there. So I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. We are definitely making way, and I'm loving this. Does anybody have any questions? Or are we good? All right, cool. Looks like we're good. Okay, now for the fun stuff. Excuse me. So, what do you want your podcast to be about? What do you want to talk about? So, again, if it's something we're passionate about, talking about it makes us feel better, right? Or at the end of the day, we just want to be heard. Like, really, at the end of the day, we all just kind of want to be heard, regardless if it's a podcast or not, or if we get in a fight with somebody. We just want to be heard. So, this is a perfect opportunity to put yourself out there to be heard. So, with that, what do you want to be? What do you want to talk about? So, of course, we got some pictures here. We got, five people on their cell phones. They're all probably texting each other for the picture. I mean, who knows? We got Kobe Bryant on the right. You want to talk about sports, or you got these two lovebirds down here with this really cool silhouette. Do you want to talk about relationships? I mean, whatever you want. So we kind of just touched on that, right? Talking about it makes us feel better. Some topics, some genres are relationships, sports, human resources. I don't know who'd want to talk about that, but some people would talk about that. Human resources, celebrity gossips, video games, music, therapeutic. Anything you're passionate about talking, totally run with it. That's the cool part about this. All right. So, do you want to have guests? Do you want to interview guests, or do you want to have a co-host to guest with you, or guest co-host with you? You can have guests to interview or guest co-hosts, or do you want to be a one-man band, right? Let's say you want to book guests for your podcast because you want to talk about sports, and like, my buddy knows a buddy who knows uh, Michael Jordan. Well, dude, I talk about sports on my podcast. How do we get Michael Jordan on? That, see where I'm going with that? So how do you get your guest on? How would you book somebody like Michael Jordan? Well, let's take a look. And it's not as easy as you think, or I'm going to make it sound. But you'd be surprised the people that would come on your podcast if you just ask, right? So booking your guests. If you are just starting out from ground zero, start with your inner circle, your family, your friends, your teammates, your band members. Um, whoever you have in your inner circle, right? Start with them. And my very first podcast, my first season, it was all my friends. It was all my friends. And then after that, I started getting guests that were not my friends. And now season 3, I've got more guests that I've never even I had never even met. And then it landed me to one of the biggest guests I could have ever gotten on my podcast. All because I kept just working my inner circle and finding out so and so knows so and so who knows so and so. And I just go after it, right? The worst they can say is no. So start with your inner circle, right? All right, you got somebody in mind, give them a call. You want to be on my podcast? This is what it's about. Yeah, dude, I'll be on, or sure, of course. Confirm the date and times for your episodes for that specific episode you're going to record, right? And it's okay to reconfirm it. Don't be afraid to give friendly reminders about your podcast, even the day of, like, hey, we're still on for 6, right? Podcast. Yeah, sweet, cool. Sometimes you might have to reschedule. Life happens. We've got family, we've got kids, we've got X, Y, and Z, right? Things going on a million miles an hour. Excuse me. Especially during COVID, which is another topic, but um, it's just life is all over the place. So you want to really, don't be afraid for friendly reminders and be prepared for last minute. Hey, I can't do it. It happens. Okay, can we reschedule? Sure. When? Reschedule, put it on your calendars, and stay persistent, but don't be annoying, so to speak, right? Uh, and in the meantime, keep pushing. So if your guest falls through, shake it off and keep going anyways. Now that you've already tapped into all your friends who might know somebody who might know somebody, keep leaning on them. Just keep building content, right? That's the biggest thing I've taken away from MediaTech. And with Crystal, she's like, just keep creating content. Just no matter what, content, content, content. And it's working. It's working, guys. And the last thing I want to leave you on is network, network, network. And by the way, network. You are be your own advocate. Nobody knows you better than you. Nobody has the passion about your podcast or what you want to talk about better than you. Nobody knows why you're doing what you're doing better than you. And believe it or not, you could get a stranger off the side of the road and pitch them your elevator pitch. Like, this is what I do. They're going to hear the passion in your voice and they're going to want to be on your show. Or they may not want to be on it, but they might want to hear it. Or they might be like, hey, man, they might know somebody. Networking is going to get you where you want to go. You want to be rich and famous in podcasts, like the guy said, it's not why we do it. Very few become rich and famous. But it's about your passion and your purpose and your mission. Because somebody needs to hear what you got to say, right? So, that is that. So, booking guests, just network. If you can't remember everything, just network. Okay, guys, I hope you have your notebooks and your pens. Because we're going to go over some equipment, some basic equipment to record your podcast. So you've already gotten your branding, you've already got your guests lined up, you're ready to rock, but now I need equipment. Okay? And if you know nothing about a recording console or a mixer, that's okay, don't freak out. We are going to go over the most simple, easiest things here to help guide you through this so you can get the best quality recording for your episodes. Okay. So we're going to go over your microphones, mic stands, table and floor, XLR cable, which is just your microphone cable, audio interfaces. Again, don't freak out with these names. We're gonna go over this pretty simple. Mixer, which is alternative. You don't have to hang tight. headphones, which is optional, computer. You need a computer that's going to be able to run your software. So it's got to have enough space, powerful enough to run the software. Your DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. So your DAW is basically the software that you're going to be editing through. Like we have Pro Tools, we have Adobe Audition, like all GarageBand. That might ring a bell for some of y'all. That's considered a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation because it's a workstation where you can work on digital audio, right? So that's all that acronym stands for. And most importantly, personality. Bring you. I'm a big goofball. I love laughing, and I can laugh at myself pretty regularly. I'm okay with that. I mess up, right? Um, I don't take myself too seriously anymore. I used to, and it used to get me in trouble. So we like to have fun with this, and it's all about the fun. So definitely bring your personality, and you'd be surprised your listeners are just going to eat it up. It's gonna be a lot of. It's gonna be real cool. So first and foremost, we're gonna go over microphones. There are so many different types of mics. The first one on the far left is the SM7B. Shure is a fantastic brand, guys. You've probably seen this microphone on plenty of podcasts. I'm actually using this very microphone right now to talk to y'all through. If you could see me on the little tiny video, I've got that microphone right in front of me. I have right next to that on the top is the SM58. That's a pretty common microphone again, interviewers and such. I actually have that in my hand right here. And I know you can't really see me. Let me just bounce back real fast. All right, cool. So this is the SM58, SM7B. Fantastic vocal mic right here. Fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favorites. All right. Then right here, oh yeah, you can see my little pointer, is the blue mic. This is an example of a setup. I don't know why my computer's doing that. Pardon me while we have some goofy glitches. So right here is just it's a setup. It doesn't have to be your setup, but this is an example of someone's setup for a podcast. Okay. And then we have Stevie Wonder here on the right doing his thing. And right here is actually, I'm just going to stop using my pointer. Bottom right is a Zoom recorder. Okay. I believe that's the H4 Zoom recorder. That little guy will take away, you see that picture in the middle on the bottom? That it's kind of intimidating, right? Well, if that intimidates you, because it actually intimidates me, I don't particularly like that setup because I want it easy and clean and simple. I like simple stuff. I have a Zoom recorder personally. I have the H6, which is just an older brother of this model that's on the screen. This Zoom H4 on the bottom right is actually everything in that picture in one. Yeah, it's really, really, really cool. It makes recording super easy. Super, super easy. I love it. I swear by it and I love it. All right. And then there are different types of microphones. There's dynamic and condenser. I don't expect y'all to know which is which. Just know with your condenser microphones, it's going to pick up the smallest of sounds. It's run by you need actually additional power to run that microphone. You can't just plug it in and go. You need what they call phantom power, so you need an additional 48 volts. And the condenser itself, it's what they use like on movie sets, on the big old boom poles to record the actors when they talk. You ever seen people holding poles and microphones? Something like that, right? It's designed to pick up sounds from a good distance away. So, and because of that, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing for podcasting, in my opinion, unless you know how to mix it correctly and properly set it up. If you don't, it's going to pick up every single sound. But they're fantastic microphones, guys. Some people swear by them. I love them. And I actually have one for my podcasting. But like I said, you got to set it up right, or it's going to be a little bit of a headache for y'all. Okay, so again, the microphone types. That Zoom recorder on the top left, that little guy is amazing. And you can set up a certain amount of microphones to it. So that's actually a microphone in itself, in addition to it being able to mix, excuse me, some stuff. It's not the mixer, but it's a type of mixer. Okay. So with the Zoom recorder, you're going to need an SD card. You will need an SD card to record your content on. And when you're done, take it out, upload your content from your SD card into your DAW of choice. And that's how you actually get your mixes done. You could do that, or the Audio Technica microphone on the right, which is the one I have. That one actually is designed to hook up directly to your computer, because you can see how it's got the USB cable underneath it. That's a fantastic mic as well. Super simple, guys. Super simple. Okay, your cables. Let me make sure there's no questions in the chat. Okay. All right, XLR cables, we've all seen them in concerts. We've seen, singers, you got the big cable coming out of the microphone when they're walking on the stage. That's an XLR cable. Okay. The XLR, you've got balanced cables and unbalanced cables. I'm going to keep it super simple. You see the three pins on the right side. Let me see if I can get my cursor right here. See these three little pins? That means it's a balanced cable. And what that means is it's going to be better for you as far as interference. Because microphone cables, if they are so super long, they'll start picking up interference. And we don't want that, especially for podcasting, because you don't have music to mask you. It's strictly voice. You can hear every single thing, right? So get you a good XLR cable. You can take a screenshot of this just so you know what it looks like. And then on the right side, you actually have an 1/8 inch to a 1/4 inch adapter cable for your mixer. I personally don't use this. Some people do if you got the mixer to go on your computer. I just don't. Like I said, I love to keep it super, super simple. Okay. Are you guys freaking out yet? Here's the good stuff. So you have audio interfaces. On the left, the red audio interfaces are the Scarletts. The one on the very top is the one I'm actually using right now with you guys. I've got my microphone hooked up to that. That's getting hooked up to the computer. This way you guys can hear me through the microphone, right? So that'll give you an idea of how it works. And then on the right, you've got your mixer and you've got a MIDI cable over there. These are just different types of equipment. If you like the technical stuff and you have the money, that's the other thing, is money, right? If you can afford it, go for it. Okay, where are we at? So does anybody have any questions right now? I'm going to give everybody a few minutes if you want to jump on. And does anybody have any questions? Or do you have any podcasts right now that you'd like to share with us and how you started? All right. Well, if you don't, let's keep rocking this, huh? We're making really good time, guys. I think we're going to be done here probably by 2, which would be really good. If not, we'll get through this. Okay. So again, equipment overview. We kind of made little tiers, or like from easiest to complicated, on how to set up your podcast based on the equipment, what kind of equipment you have, right? So if you have a Zoom recorder and you have, your cable, your aux, you go to a Zoom recorder to your computer, to your DAW, and that's how you'll actually record your stuff. Okay. So you're recording everything on your Zoom recorder, your files, and all that fun stuff. Like I said, you need that SD card. When you're done, take that SD card, put it in your computer, and upload it to your DAW. Right? So it's a 1, 2, 3 step. And your DAW, again, is your digital audio workstation. where you go in and mix it and create your MP3 file and all that fun stuff to push out on the internet. Like I said, I this is basically my setup at home. I like I said, I have to keep it super simple, super simple. And like I said, the Zoom recorder, I'm a huge fan of it. I love it. Here's another way to do it pretty easily. You get your microphone. They have USB microphones where at the tail end of that microphone on the left is a USB. That's a USB cable. It will go directly into your computer so that you can record straight to your DAW. Again, it's a 1, 2, 3 step. All right, now here's where the anxiety starts to kick in, right? So this is the medium. We just added another piece of equipment, which is your audio interface. And again, I'm using that exact audio interface right now to talk to y'all. It's actually upside down in that picture. That's so that's funny. That's right side up. Okay. Sorry, ADD kicks in sometimes. But anyhow, it's pretty much the exact same audio interface. Does someone have a question? All right. And guys, if y'all could mute yourselves, that would really help us out just to make sure that let me see. Okay. Oh, all right. We're just going to make this work. Okay, cool. All right. So you take your microphone, you go to your interface. Okay. Your interface hooks up to your computer. And then you're going to open your DAW of choice. And because you have everything connected the way it needs to be connected, then you can record directly into your DAW, which again is either Pro Tools or Ableton or GarageBand. Okay. It's starting to get a little more technical, which is why we put it in the medium category. Now, here's the advanced. I'm not in advanced. I can do it. I just don't want to do it. Plus, it's going to cost a lot of money for me. But you can go from your cell phone, believe it or not, or the microphone, go into your interface and your mixer, into your computer, into your DAW. So there's additional steps. That's why it's advanced, right? But whether you're advanced or you're in the beginner stages, you'll still get great quality. It's all on you and how technical you want to make it, right? So tier audio wizard. Microphone. Yeah, see, so you see how there's like another computer involved back into your interfaces to the computer. And it can get really technical really fast. And believe it or not, when you go to these places like Best Buy or Guitar Center, you might talk to somebody who works there that might want to pitch you a lot of this equipment when you really don't need all of it. Again, to each his own. I can get really good quality podcast episodes from my cell phone, believe it or not. So it's all on what you want. All right. We're doing great, guys. I'm really excited about this. I'm a little disappointed my coffee didn't get to me in time, but I will live. I promise we're going to make it through this. All right. So this is one thing you really want to write down and keep in mind is when you start, you got everything set up ready to go for recording. Where do I record? All right, so your location setting is very, very important, guys. Super, super important. If you record, let's say from your house, you got to keep in mind you might have the gardeners coming, you might have people with lawnmowers, you might have neighbors with noisy children. You might have a lot of outside noises that you're not ready for. Or if you're dead set like you want to do from the house, just find a window or a day with a window where you know it's like super quiet. And it doesn't have to be dead silence, but quiet enough where it's not going to be so distracting for you putting on your episode, distracting for your guest, or any of that stuff. But with that said, because we are in COVID times and all that craziness, We do understand life happens, right? So if we are recording from home, our kids might, our guest might have kids, and their kids may come in the interview, and our kids may come in the interview. It's totally cool. I think it's totally cool. Some people may not. I personally, I kind of like it because, I mean, it is what it is, right? But just keep in mind, there's going to be a lot of outside factors going on out of your control. So, like me, I can't record at home on Mondays because every Monday where I live, the gardeners come and go crazy with lawnmowers and weed whackers. I know that. So now I've kind of adjusted it to other days. So that's for a home location, right? If you go, let's say, office location right here on the bottom, um, it's a good place to record. Be mindful of squeaky chairs. Sometimes like myself, I like to kick back, or I'll admit it, I put my feet up on the desk a lot. It's a bad habit. But be mindful that there could be, something. But if you're fine with that, cool, just do it. And also phones ringing in the background and people coming in and all sorts of craziness, right? Just be mindful of it. Or stay at work for an extra hour when everybody goes home, knock it out, and then call it a day. So work around your locations. Now, this location right here, you can see my arrow. It looks like an abandoned gym or something like that. Um, yeah, it is a gym. You see the basketball hoops. I wouldn't record there for a few reasons, because there could be a lot of, because it's really empty, there could be a lot of reverb, a lot of echo, in which case I might sound really goofy coming into my microphone when I'm recording, or when I hear the person back in it's just, you just got to be careful. It could be done. It just depends on how clean you want your sound to be, right? Again, this is a really big open space, tall ceilings, which could cause a lot of like reverb and echo, and it's empty. So just be mindful of it. Um, but it's you can record outside if you want. If you want birds chirping, it's all up to you, right? Totally on how you want to do this. But remember, keep in mind that the room that you're in is gonna it could potentially affect your recording and how you sound coming into the microphone. All right, now for the fun stuff. It's kind of what I was talking about earlier. How do you format your podcasts? Um, Izzy does block to block, so he does it on a script. Okay, I am more free forming. I'm very free forming, and I have an intro song. Izzy's got an intro song, but I'm gonna really quickly show you the difference in his as opposed to mine. So I'm gonna show his real fast, kind of give you an idea of what his sounds like. Here we go.
Listener discretion is advised. Strong language was used for this podcast. Podcasts may contain content not suitable for all audiences.
Right, he's got his intro song. Plays his whole song.
She had epileptic. See, you know how the lights.
Izzy Mansa 18, and we're back with another podcast here, and this one's going to be a interesting topic. It's going to deal with relationships, and so. And so who I have with me here is Cliff.
Hey,
how's it going, Cliff?
How's it going? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling real good, man.
All right. And followed with is 2K. What up, 2K?
Yeah, what's up, man? City boy representative. Looking good this summer, y'all.
Anything's possible.
Anything. Anything.
And back with another vlog.
All right. So Izzy's got the intro, and it's not suitable for all audiences. So he puts the disclaimer out there really fast. He introduces his guests, and his podcast is about an hour long, a little less than an hour. But what happens is midway through, he actually takes a break and does like a music like intermission. Just to kind of let the guests breathe a little bit, to go on a potty break or something. Let us as the listeners breathe a little bit, because it can get crazy really fast. And then he comes back and reintroduces, what it's about and stuff. So he's on a script. He's got his questions he's asking. He wrote them down, and he's going to make sure he hits on them, right? Um, that's one way to do a podcast, and it works for him. It works for a lot of people. Um, Me, on the other hand, I don't do that. I'm very free form. I hate organizing. If you know me, it stresses me out. Uh, I I do put a time frame on the podcast. I shoot for an hour, but if we get all the content in a half hour, then we get it in a half hour. If we go over an hour, that's fine. I will not go over an hour and a half, guys. That's just a hard stop that I put on me. And because I have control of how I'm taking my guests, although they're telling me what they want to tell me, I can guide them and kind of cut it off where I need it to. So I do put a timeline on me. Joe Rogan goes for like 3 hours or something crazy like that. But he's Joe Rogan. He's got the sponsors, he's got the guests and the money and all that fun stuff, right? I don't, and that's okay. So, and honestly, I can't sit still for 3 hours. So a good hour or so is kind of what I go for. And this is how I do it. So it's going to start with some loud music. It'll start.
We need a miracle.
All right, what is going on, everybody? This is your girl Pam with 2200 Taps. Y'all, I need you to hang on to your seats because we went from baby steps to basically running with this podcast, and I don't even know if I can hang on because our guest today really needs no introduction, but I'm going to I'm going to butter her up because you guys get ready for this. She is the New York Times best-selling author, a mom, and wife of the legendary American sniper, Chris Kyle. Taya, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. You did.
All right. So I'm going to save that episode for y'all if you want to check that out later. But you see how it's a little different, right? And the episode's about an hour long. I used to take instrumental breaks in the middle, but then I was like, why am I doing that? So I stopped and we actually just talked for almost an hour. And then at the end, I took that song, my intro song, I took the end of it for the ending of my episode. So my song comes back in as I'm signing off with everybody, right? And one thing I do want to hit on about music for podcasts, and I don't know if we're going to go over that, but I do want to hit on it now because it'd be a good time to do it. If you go on YouTube, there's going to be a ton of royalty-free music if you want to use music for your podcasts. It gets very gray when you start using music that's copywritten, unless you have permission or you bought licenses and stuff like that. Um, Stick with royalty free, just to protect yourself from any headaches down the road. The artist I have, it's royalty free. The only thing that they want us to do if we use it is to credit them. Like song was Miracle by On Lap. Go find them at Spotify, right? So I do that. And I had it in an email. I was like, hey guys, I'm using your music. Are we good? And they said, use all you want. So I have it in an email. So just keep in mind that's going more into what's setting up your podcast episode, but it's really cool. So the free form, we talk about stuff and I just ask questions. I don't make outlines. For Taya Kyle, I had to make an outline because she wanted an outline. Okay, I got you. Izzy, he's got an outline. And I think we have an example of it here coming up. But yeah, we just wanted to kind of give you an audio, you can hear the difference, right? And there's no right or wrong. It's all on you. It's all on you, and it's your canvas, guys. Okay, so the DAW. In case some of y'all are wondering, again, DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation. So now that you have your files or your SD card full of all this audio that you just recorded, what do you do with it now, right? You want to edit it. What do you mean by edit? Well, let's say, for instance, I goofed on the podcast or my guest said something and they're like, hey, can you take that out? I don't want that to be on the air. All right, well, now you got to go in and you got to chop it out, right? How do you do that? Well, that's a little more technical. Won't get in the weeds with that because it gets really technical really fast. But the important thing is to understand what DAW you're using. What are you using to edit with, right? Or let's say you don't even want to like chop up that part and you're ready to just take your audio you recorded and make it an MP3 file, right? Let's just say that because you need MP3 files to upload or WAV files to upload to get it out to the public. Okay. So where do we do this? All right. So Pro Tools, you've heard me say it probably 50 times already. Pro Tools is the DAW of choice for it, it's the industry standard DAW for music. Any song you hear on the radio nowadays, I guarantee you, unless it's like hip hop or something, it was mixed and mastered on Pro Tools, which is on the left side. Okay. You don't have to understand what all those waves mean. You don't have to understand any of that, what the colors mean. Don't worry about that stuff. But do understand that when you actually load your files, and actually all those are just WAV files. So your voice, that's what it's going to look like when you import it into Pro Tools. It's going to look like a bunch of little waves, right? From there that's where you can make your MP3 file to push out to the public, or if you just want to hear it in your car, okay, in your WAV files. That's Pro Tools. That's what it looks like when it's loaded and ready to go. Granted, you will not have that many tracks. If it's just you and one other person talking, you will just have 2 tracks. So you might have the top blue one and the green one under it, and that's it. If you want to add music like I do, I will have another track underneath that. And because I mix, I start adding more tracks to get the mix just right, so it sounds good. But don't worry about that, guys. Just know that's a DAW. The other one is what a lot of people are familiar with, and it's GarageBand. If you have a Microsoft or a MacBook Pro or a MacBook laptop or Macs, GarageBand usually comes with it. I think for free. I could be wrong. It's an app. And again, you could see on the right side with GarageBand, you see the blue files. Those are just audio. I mean, those are your WAV files. And you see the drum here. Well, hey, that's my drums. You see the bass here. That's my bass. My tambourine. That's my tambourine. And so forth, all the way down to the guitar. Okay. So that's how you read it, really. But it could be as simple as you just uploading your voice file that you recorded and creating an MP3 and pushing it out, right? And GarageBand is actually super easy friendly compared to Pro Tools. Super, super user friendly. All right. Now with that, there's a lot more other DAWs out there. Again, we have Pro Tools right here. Whoop. Sorry about that, guys. You've got Pro Tools right there. You've got GarageBand. You've got Logic Pro, Audacity, Fruity Loops, Adobe Audition, Ableton. Again, these are all types of DAWs. You pick the one that's going to be the easiest for you, okay? And they're all really good. Again, it's all about your budget as well, right? Pro Tools can run you about $500 because it's got a lot of technical stuff, unless you're a student, in which case you can get like a 50% discount, student discount code for the software. GarageBand is free. You see kind of where we're going as far as your budget and all that fun stuff. Or it used to be free. I could be wrong. But they are fantastic all around. Okay, where are we at here? Let me check something real quick. We're almost done, guys. Look at that. We're not too far down. All right. We got about 8 more slides. We're going to be out of here in no time. Okay, so formatting your podcast. All right, so this is actually the exact example on how Izzy does his. And we kind of heard it. He's like, this is not suitable for adults. And then he had his intro music right here. And then the next block, he had his intro, which was question 1. And then your guests kind of go to town. He has question 2, his bonus question, and in the music break is right in the middle, right? So going from left to right is the beginning of his podcast all the way to the end. Okay. Once he comes back from that break, he's going right into question 3, maybe adding in a bonus question. And then he's got his outro, which could be you know, I don't know how he does it, but I can tell you how I do it. What I do is, like, subscribe, follow 2200 taps on all major platforms, so forth and so forth. And until next time, I'll see you later. Whatever. Peace out. Done. And while I'm finishing my outro, I bring in my outro music underneath me. That way, it's kind of like pumping you up and telling you, "Hey, we're about ready. We're about to be done." Um, so that's how Izzy does his. I started doing mine like that, and then I stopped pretty quickly because, again, organizing stresses me out, and this, even looking at this graph, this chart, stresses me out. But some of y'all might like that, and that's totally cool. Uh, but with that, again, like I said, you do want to have structure. Make sure you're within your time frame. You're hitting, the areas you do want to talk about, and then go to town from there. Um, and you get better as you go. The more content you make, the better you get. It's really, really fun. Again, you can format your show however you want. Here's one cool thing too before we wrap up here. Ask for feedback, and it says it'll help you out, seriously. So don't forget to ask for feedback. What do we mean by that? All right, so you just pushed out a show. You pushed out one episode. All your friends are listening to it, all your family, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your husband, um, whoever, right? Don't be afraid to be like, "Hey man, what'd you think? Like, the intro, the outro, the questions, like what'd you think?" And ask them to be honest, right? Because if they're like, "Man, you did great, but I don't know about this," or "Your intro music was really long," or "Man, I'm not gonna lie, I shut it off within the first 20 seconds because it was horrible." Be ready for some feedback, and that's all it is feedback. You can do with it what you will, because again, this is your baby, but the feedback is definitely going to organically mold your mission, your podcast, and elevate it even more, which is really fun. Because your friends and family, they want to see you succeed. They want to be able to say, "Hey, man, you know that show? Yeah, I know the host." Or, "Hey, that's my wife." Or, "That's my husband," or whatever, right? "That's my brother. I'll get you in." Some, how we do stuff, right? We want to see each other succeed and promote each other and be excited about it. And they're going to give you the feedback, and you do with it what you will, and really just take an honest look at it, right? Um, that's how I've been able to improve my shows, with feedback and leaning on other people that do podcasts. And we help each other. We really, really do. Okay, guys. So here are some links. Again, we're pretty much all set with all the meat and potatoes. So here are the toppings, right? For microphones, like, where do I get microphones, audio interfaces, mixers, DAWs, right? And hopefully by now you kind of understand what that's sounding like, looking like. Microphones, you can go to Best Buy. Best Buy product microphones. Let's see what this is going to pull up for us. Or podcasting microphones, excuse me. So Best Buy, Music Radar. Sometimes they'll even sell you like a podcasting beginner kit. So if you look, like, you have your microphone, your desk mic, you have your mic going into your mixer going into your computer. Okay. This is a pretty simple setup. Again, I don't use those kind of mixers, but you can do it. Oh, I don't even know if y'all can see this. Sorry. Y'all aren't even seeing that. I'm so sorry. All right, there we go. There we go. All right. This computer's goofy, guys. All right. So we're going to just stop that for now. I did not leave the meeting. All right. Uh-oh. Did I leave the meeting? Did I leave the meeting? Whoops, I think I accidentally left the meeting. Uh-oh, something happened here. Can you also hear me? We are recording. What did I do? All right, somehow I jumped off the meeting and stopped presenting. So we were actually kind of wrapping up there. Oh, brother, what did I do? Technology, man, I swear. Hello, hello, hello. Mic check, mic check. All right, there we go. My apologies, guys. There we go. All right. Mic check, mic check. All right, we're good. So sorry about that. Okay, so present. We're just not going to click on links right now. How about that? Formatting. All right, cool. So you got links, like I said, Best Buy, where to purchase your software, USB mixer interfaces, XLRs, all that fun stuff. Okay. Where do you upload now, right? This is like the huge one. So you've got your MP3 ready to rock. Where do you upload? So you've got Spotify, platforms such as Spotify, the iTunes, podcasting, SoundCloud, Mixcloud. Where do you upload? So the biggest thing about this is instead of going to Spotify or iHeartRadio individually, what you want to do, and the easiest thing to do, is find what we call an aggregator, right? They're the third party middleman that you want to actually invest in so they can push it out to all your major platforms. Okay. So see, upload to Spotify, 7 places your podcast needs to be. Tips from your aggregator. Okay, so the video that we saw from the very beginning was from one of the aggregators called Buzzsprout. I actually use Buzzsprout personally to push out my podcasts. It's super simple. It is going to cost you a little bit of money depending on how many hours you want to push out to the public. They have different tiers, but Buzzsprout will push out to iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Castbox, all your platforms. So if you upload with them, they'll take care of the rest. You'll just have to do a few additional steps to make sure that happens. And on the right, I've actually put a list of additional aggregators, to look into. You don't have to use Buzzsprout, but Buzzsprout, I love them. I'm going to stick with them. But you also have Transistor, you have Podbean, Simplecast, Captive, Spreaker. There might be a misspell. Spreaker. Castos, Podcastix, Fusebox, podcast websites, Audio Boom. If you want to take a screenshot of that, you feel free to do so. So all this means is when you're done, you've got your MP3 file that you want to send out to the public, sign up with one of these aggregators, okay? One of these third-party aggregators so that they can push it out on all the platforms for you. It's going to take away all the guessing game for you on how to do it, okay? It may cost a little bit of money, but it's money well spent for sure. I promise you. So those are your aggregators. And if you're a musician, they're the equivalent to like what CD Baby and DistroKid are, like who they are, how you upload your stuff with them and then they push it out on all major platforms. Well, CD Baby and DistroKid do not do that for podcasters, but these guys do. Same principle. All right. Are there any questions? Again, I apologize that we lost you there, or you lost me there for a second, but I am back. We're pretty much finished, guys. So if you don't have any questions, I actually want to personally thank you for being here. Let me see here. Am I presenting still? Yeah, I'm presenting. Let's stop presenting. All right, cool. So again, guys, thank you so much for being here today. We wrapped up with about 25 minutes to spare. And like I said, if you don't have any questions, thank you again for joining me. My name is Pam Barragan. This was the first round of podcasting. We're going to do part 2 next Saturday from about 1 to 3 o'clock. Again, if we get finished early, we get finished early, but I have a feeling we may use the entire 3 hours because it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of hands-on. So again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, MediaTech, for allowing myself and Izzy to do this for you guys. I appreciate you. You guys stay tuned. Check us out and feel free to leave us comments if this thing gets uploaded on YouTube. So thank you again, and y'all have a fantastic, fantastic day, y'all.